All right. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 8 of the Agents Unleashed podcast, the show that helps you to sort the signal from the noise in the fast-paced world of agentic AI. I'm your host, Thomas Maybrier, and I'm the digital media producer for Valory, one of the core contributors to Olas. If you haven't heard of Olas or you haven't heard of Agents Unleashed, let me quickly take a moment to tell you a little bit about both. So Olas is the best way for anyone to own and monetize their AI agent, and that includes people just like you. You can learn more about how to do that at olas.network. And Agents Unleashed isn't just a podcast. It's also the premier event series for people interested in AI agents. Events have been held all over the world with over 77 speakers and presenters and more than 2,500 in-person attendees. The next event has already been announced. It'll be held June 30th in Cannes, and registrations are currently open. You'll definitely want to grab a slot fast. It is free to attend, but previous events have hit capacity. You can find a link for more information about the event in the show notes or the description box. All right, so on this episode of the show, we're going to take a look at the current state of AI through the eyes of some major leaders in the space. I've got some interesting stuff to share with you from Sam Altman of OpenAI and Dario Amodei from Anthropic. We're also going to look at a new advancement in the world of open source models from ByteDance. And we'll close the show today with a look at the world's first fully AI-generated scientific discovery to be accepted at a major academic conference. Okay, so we'll start with Sam Altman, who recently appeared at the Snowflake Summit. He made some very interesting comments there about what he expects we might see in AI over the next year. I've got a clip for you, so let's check that out.
I think we'll be at the point next year where you can not only use a system to sort of automate some business processes or build these new products and services, but you can really say, I have this hugely important problem in my business. I will throw a ton of compute at it if you can solve it. And the models will be able to go figure out things that teams of people on their own can't do. I would bet next year that in some limited cases, at least, in some small ways, we start to see agents that can help us discover new knowledge or can figure out solutions to business problems that are kind of very non-trivial. Right now, it's very much in the category of, okay, if you've got some like repetitive cognitive work, we can automate it at a kind of a low level on a short time horizon. And so what an enterprise will be able to do, we talked about this a little bit, but just like give it your hardest problem. If you're a chip design company, say, go design me a better chip than I could have possibly had before. If you're a biotech company trying to cure some disease, say, just go work on this for me. Like, that's not so far away.
Okay, so it's a relatively short clip, but there's a lot to unpack there. What I think it should get us thinking about is the roadmap for the immediate future. Right now, as Altman correctly points out, AI is great for automating repetitive cognitive work. That's essentially where we use an AI as a productivity multiplier on tasks that we already know how to do. What Altman is predicting is that AI could soon become a strategic problem solver for a business. This would be where a business would be able to take its hardest problem, so some business challenge that even their internal team of experts haven't been able to solve, and then delegate that to the AI, which then goes away and autonomously discovers a workable solution. If we look at the examples that he gives, like the chip company trying to design a better chip, the biotech firm working on a disease, in these hypotheticals, what I think we need to seriously consider is the possibility that AI will soon be able to take the lead on innovation in this way and discover solutions that are, in Sam's words, very non-trivial. There's also an interesting angle about the potential future of work here, because it's possible that in the very near future, instead of having a human orchestrate a team of junior-level colleagues, perhaps complementing them with a non-agentic AI, Altman is forecasting a future where we might be able to just deploy an AI to tackle the work that those junior-level colleagues might have done for us. This is quite different than the way most businesses and individuals currently use AI, but with the pace of innovation lately, it does seem more and more possible. As is always the case with these thought leaders, we should take their ideas and comments with a grain of salt. Their timelines might be overly optimistic. Adoption might not take off in the way that they expect. There could be other blockers that they're just not considering, but we should still take their ideas seriously. This idea that AI has the potential to discover truly unique, novel knowledge is the core premise behind much of the work that's going into agentic AI right now. It's worth taking seriously this idea that with sufficient autonomy and computational power, these systems could move beyond simply remixing existing information and move into the domain of actually discovering new and novel solutions and ideas. As I'll share with you at the end of the show, we already have a concrete example of an AI that has potentially done just that in the world of science, which lends some real weight to Altman's predictions. So, moving on, another big story this week came from Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei, who did an interview with Axios where he made quite a few big statements and predictions about what he sees happening in the future of work over the next 10 years. His ideas definitely rhyme a little bit with Sam's comments. Amodei says that he thinks advanced AI could wipe out a significant number of entry-level white-collar jobs, up to 50% in the next 10 years. I think that sounds like a lot, but again, it is worth taking this idea seriously because one of the implications is that we as consumers should be actively thinking about ways that we can learn to augment ourselves with these AI tools. This way, we stand the best chance of becoming orchestrators of the AI rather than having our productivity or our value completely replaced by them. Amodei mentions in the interview that Anthropic's research shows that right now AI models are being mainly used for augmentation, that is to say, they help humans achieve their goals. However, he says that over time, he expects companies are going to tip more towards full automation. So this would be where the AI performs the task from end to end. He also reminds us in the interview that OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, they're all vastly improving the capabilities of their models, and in many areas, they're already meeting or exceeding human-level performance. The other thing important to mention here is the pace of innovation is only speeding up. So if you're watching or listening to the show, you're probably already thinking about this, but I think the truth is most people are not. So maybe we should consider this a call to action to either begin or restart that discussion with friends, family, and colleagues that maybe aren't thinking about it as much as you and I are. This could be an important time to communicate to those people that this is all very much real, and while there is tremendous potential, there's also great risk for those who allow themselves to remain uninformed, even just in simple ways like having their life be a little harder than it needs to be. So my conclusion here is that white-collar entry-level jobs almost certainly are under threat to some extent. There is a good chance that they do go away in the form that they currently exist in, but I also think that it's possible that what becomes expected from entry-level human performance just becomes different. To give an example, perhaps in a few years, an entry-level type task is more about thinking through what problems to bring to an autonomous agentic AI. So you would be looking at designing the experiment, whereas in contrast to today, you might be expected to do all of the work yourself. As I said a few times already in the episode and definitely on previous episodes of the show, this is the best time to be looking for ways to get involved with AI and in particular, learning about AI agents. Running an AI agent through Perl, the agent app store, for example, could be a good way to dip your feet in. These agents are quite lightweight, but by running them every day, not only are you contributing to the growth of autonomous AI agent economies, you also get a stake of ownership in the future of co-owned AI because the agent that you run is completely owned, custodied, and operated by you. I would definitely encourage you to check it out. There'll be a link in the descriptions in the show notes where you can find out exactly how to do that. So that's what's been happening on the centralized big tech side of AI. Now let's take a look at open source. As has been the case often lately, we're seeing some great advancements, and so this week I want to share with you a model from ByteDance called Bagel. I think the rollout of this model was perhaps overshadowed a little bit because the launch announcement came at the same time as Google VO3, which we covered on the previous episode of the show. I wanted to make sure we gave it a little bit of time because it's a very cool advancement. So ByteDance, as you may know, is the company that operates TikTok in the US, among other things, and Bagel is a powerful new open source model that they've created. This is a unified multimodal model, which means that the UX is very similar to what you would see in Gemini 2.0, ChatGPT 4.0. So it can receive, generate, and reason over both text and image in the same chat. As I've mentioned, it's open source, and what's really cool about that is its capabilities are comparable to a proprietary model like ChatGPT, but because it's open source, that means it can be fine-tuned, altered, or adapted for your unique use case. This gives it a flexibility that a centralized closed-weight model doesn't have. As the pace of AI innovation continues to accelerate, we're going to need as many different options and tools as we can possibly get our hands on. So it's great to see yet another powerful open source model hit the market. There are many use cases where it might not be desirable to rely on a cloud-based foundation model from a centralized player. For example, like having your application use Gemini's API or using an API from OpenAI to process your users' requests or manage data. So for those of you watching the show, I'm going to put up some examples from their demo video on screen, and you'll be able to see that Bagel handles text and image in very much the same way that ChatGPT 4.0 does. You can see that the answers that it gives are quite high quality, and it's also capable of image generation where it can discuss and reason over the images that you provide or it creates. Not only can it generate new images, but it can also edit your uploads or make changes to the images that it generates for you. Like I said before, it's really exciting to have such a powerful open source alternative model available to us. This is exactly what we as end users and creators of this alternative world of co-ownable AI are going to need. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you to check out Bagel because it is very cool. Okay, so the last thing I want to share with you today is a research paper with a very impressive title. It's called Tempest: Automatic Multi-Turn Jailbreaking of Large Language Models with Tree Search. So this is a paper that describes an interesting and importantly novel way of getting an LLM to break its alignment rules. And it does this through exploring different possible jailbreaks in a parallel tree search. If the system finds a successful path, it then propagates those results across the other branches of the tree. So it looks for and finds the most effective attack strategy and then applies it systematically. In the paper, we can see that it performs quite well on benchmarks, and they were able to get good, meaningful results. So that's something very cool about the paper, but the reason that I wanted to talk about it on the show today is the origin of this paper. So this paper was created, researched, and tested entirely by an AI agent. It's called Zochi, and it was created by Intology specifically for the purpose of scientific discovery. So not only did the Zochi agent discover something novel, but the paper itself has been accepted to the upcoming Association of Computational Linguistics conference. So just to lay everything out really explicitly, what we have here is an AI-generated paper that's come up with a novel discovery, and it's passed the highest level of peer review, which is acceptance to the main track of an academic conference. So what that means is that this paper will be discussed and hopefully advance the field in the same way that a human-generated discovery would. This is a pretty serious stamp of approval, in my opinion, for this idea that agentic AI can discover novel insights. So if you've felt or heard or been told that AI isn't capable of producing something new or novel, well, here you go. Here is a real-world example that will be discussed at this conference. So once again, this is all real and it's all really happening. Also, if you think back to the beginning of today's show where we listened to the comments from Sam Altman, just like he said he thinks AI could be capable of discovering new knowledge in the realm of a company or a business, well, here we have an example of an AI agent discovering new knowledge in the realm of science. So clearly he's onto something, and this is probably only the beginning. Okay, so that was all a lot of information, but before we go, I'm going to give you 5 quick hits of some stories that are interesting, but we don't have time to get into the details today. So the first is on the collapse of Builder.ai. This was a startup that was once valued at over $1 billion. They're going to be shutting down. As a part of this process, what was discovered was that the chat service they were providing to developers was actually sending requests to a real-life team of human coders in India. Looking at something a little more real, the FDA, which is the regulatory body which oversees food and drugs in the US, recently announced their own generative AI tool called Elsa. They're going to be using it to speed up the scientific review process and make the agency more efficient. Meta is reportedly planning to have its AI tools fully creating and targeting ads by the end of next year. AI pioneer Yoshua Bengio has launched a new nonprofit called LawZero. They're going to be working on systems that are designed to keep AI honest by using psychological tactics to monitor for harmful behaviors so they can interrupt it. And lastly, Ollama announced Secure Minions, which allows private collaboration between a locally running Ollama model and a cloud-based frontier model. It uses a new security protocol from Stanford's Hazy Research to encrypt all local remote communication end-to-end. This way, you can ensure that sensitive data remains private, even from the cloud provider, with minimal effects on performance. Okay, so we'll wrap it up here. Links to all of the articles, videos, and resources that we've talked about on the show today can be found in the description box or the show notes. Before we go, I'd like to ask for your support. Please give this video a thumbs up, a star rating, a repost, a comment. Share it with your friends, family, and colleagues. It'll really help us to reach new people and grow the show. I'd also love to hear from you. If you have any feedback or comments, please get in touch with me. I am at Thomas Maybrier on X. And don't forget to register for Agents Unleashed in Cannes. Again, it's June 30th. RSVPs are free, but space is limited. All right, we'll leave it here. This has been the Agents Unleashed podcast, and I will see you next time.